Hi, my name is Natalie Hecht, and today I'll be talking about deforestation in Ohio. I'll be going over the reasons, the effects, and solutions for deforestation, and I will also be sharing some examples from where I live. So, Ohio was originally 95% covered with forest, and now it's only 30% covered with forest. And some factors for this could be expanding agriculture, urbanization, fossil fuel extraction, using the wood to create things like furniture, wood floors, fences, etc., and charcoal. So it's important to note that trees take in carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide is an important greenhouse gas that absorbs and radiates heat. So you don't want too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere because it will cause the atmosphere to get warm. And old trees take in more carbon dioxide than younger trees. So when we cut down the tall old trees, we are increasing our carbon input into the atmosphere. So back a couple decades into the early 1800s, settlers came into Ohio and they found this beautiful land full of trees and fertile soil. And that's when they decided they wanted to stay here and build farms and stuff. So they planted their crops, cleared out the trees, and they used the wood to build houses and fences and to create fuel, which we will get into later. This picture over here, this is kind of what I imagine Ohio to look like with all the trees. Just a little, reference. And it's important to note that a lot of European farmers came into Ohio once they heard about the fertile soil. So this picture shows some German immigrants who came to Ohio and they created their own farm and they have their own farming equipment. Now, agriculture from 1815 to 1840, they had heavy land clearing, a lot of land clearing for these farms. And this had a huge impact on the animals there because they had lost their homes and their food source. And the trees, they provided a lot of nuts, seeds, and fruit for them, so they had to find a different place to live. And a lot of them would go to the farms to eat whatever was in the fields. The farmers got so upset that they wanted Ohio legislators to pass an act that required farmers to present 100 squirrel scalps to the town's trustee. That's how upset they were with the squirrels. The lumber industry, Ohio had really fine wood, really fine wood. So the timber industry eventually took over this and began cutting down these trees and exporting them. And then by 1849, Ohio was ranked 4th place in the lumber production. But as you can guess, as you could probably tell, by 1920, they had removed all these beautiful trees, and they were left with no more expensive trees, so they sold the land for less than $1 per acre. Here's some pictures of how much wood they took. And for fuel, from 1818 to 1875, the low-grade timber was cut down to create charcoal. Now, charcoal became really high demand during this time because it was used to smelt iron. And in order to make iron, you need a hot enough furnace. That's where the charcoal came into play. It heated up the furnace. So to make charcoal, they had to burn a large pile of wood under a pile of dirt. And the dirt would prevent the wood from burning. It would only char the wood. And they would put the charcoal in this little bucket over here. So how much tree loss actually happened over 100 years? So before the settlers, Ohio was roughly 95% covered with trees, but by the late 1800s, it was only 20% covered with trees. So they removed around 75% of Ohio's trees in that short amount of time. Now we look into the effects. Of course, habitat loss, animals lost their homes and their food source, and a lot of these animals could not adapt to this change really quickly, so a lot of them passed away. Runoff, tree roots soak up water, so when you take out a lot of the trees, you get more water on the surface. It's not going to absorb into the soil as well. You get increase in climate change. Less trees means more carbon dioxide, and as we learned, when there's too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it heats it up, which can lead to all these changes, like soil erosion, changes in the weather pattern, decline in biodiversity, and global warming. Now, luckily, things take a change in 1875 when a man named Dr. John Aston Warder brought together a group of people who were interested in forest conservation, and they created the American Forestry Association, also known as AFA. The AFA brought the forest community together, especially in Ohio, and they put their thoughts together and they realized something was wrong. They needed to do something about it. So in 1903, they created the Ohio Forestry Association. Now, I'm going to shorten it up to OFA. The OFA, they planted trees and they restored forests and they helped landowners protect their forest and they advocated for policies that would protect Ohio's forests. A lot of forests. And the Weeks Act came a little bit later by President Roosevelt. And he was really, really passionate about the outdoors. And he wanted to create national parks. So the nation was actually kind of, interested in this. So in 1911, Theodore Roosevelt and Gifford Pinchot, an important figure in the American conservation movement, they helped pass the Weeks Act. Now, the Weeks Act allowed the government to buy and maintain land as state and national parks. Now, there are many solutions to deforestation, like reforestation, which is planting new trees, and sustainable practices. I chose selective logging, which is to take out a specific amount of trees, not too much so that way you don't mess up the environment, to raise awareness, which is to educate others on the importance of reforestation, conservation programs, which is to help protect state and national parks, and to create them. And support is to support laws and policies that will ensure sustainable land use. Now, Ohio began opening up their own national and state parks after the Weeks Act. I put 3 examples here. I got Hocking Hills State Park, established in 1924. You can see it's really pretty. John Bryan State Park, established in 1949. Again, another really pretty one. And Cuyahoga Valley National Park, 1974. Really, really pretty. And as of today, roughly 31% of Ohio is covered with forest, with 4% of this being for state and national parks. Now, 8.1 out of 28.6 million acres is actually forested. Here are some examples that I had of deforestation from around where I live. So this one's from 2020. This is from 2023. I got these from Google Earth, by the way. And this one's from 2020, 2021. You got 2018, 2020, 2021, and these 2 are from 2022. I'm not fully sure why the dates are so close, considering how many houses they added in that short amount of time. I'm not sure how accurate that is. And this is from 2018, 2019, and 2021. And I think that's about it. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!